Okay, but we want to start with the quarterback starts?
Yeah, man.
Let's
Let's
get this
do it.
ball rolling.
A quarterback I told you to start last week, Jared Goff. Keep him in your lineup overseas at Wembley Stadium against the Bengals. They've allowed an average of over 22 fantasy points per game. The quarterbacks, remember, their top two corners are dealing with injuries, and Goff could be a top 5 quarterback this week. I'm also starting Josh Allen. Told you to start him last week as well. Put up a nice stat line. The Eagles defense has allowed a 100.6 passer rating and an average of more than 23 fantasy points per game to home quarterbacks this season. So Josh Allen should look very good in Buffalo this weekend. And then my sleeper, Ryan Tannehill. He gave you over 19 fantasy points last week against the Chargers. The Bucs have given up the most passing yards and over 20 fantasy points per game to home quarterbacks overall. Their defense has a lot of top 8 quarterback in 3 of their last 4 games.
All right, who are you sitting? Because I feel like Baker Mayfield owners may think you're a broken record.
On my sit-em list until I see some. They're allowing an average of fewer than 4 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. That's absolutely bananas, and no quarterback has scored double digits against them. Baker Mayfield is on the bench, if not on the waiver wire. Sorry, Mossy. Phillip Rivers, I was wrong about him last week. I would still sit him this week against the Chicago Bears. I get it, their defense hasn't been all that great, but it still allowed just 6 touchdown passes and an average of fewer than 15 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks this season.
All right, let's hit them with the tight ends because I need a pair that I need to start this week because it's thin at that position.
Yeah, and Marcus and Cynthia just talked about Gerald Everett, right? I mean, Gerald Everett, look at his numbers. He's been one of the better tight ends in fantasy football over the last month or so, scoring 15 or more points in 3 of his last 4 games. This Bengals defense is giving up 431 yards of total offense and almost 27 points per game, so Everett is a very good start. And so is Jimmy Graham, believe it or not. Last week, had 16.5 fantasy points. We still don't know the status of Devontae Adams. And the matchup here against the Chiefs is very positive. They've given up an average of right around 7 catches per game to enemy tight ends.
Okay, how about a defense or special teams that we need to start this week?
Monday Night Football, Steelers, Dolphins. I guess you can't get too excited about that game unless you have the Steelers defense. This is ridiculous. Every defense, Cole, that has faced the Miami Dolphins this year has finished tied for 9th in fantasy points